It's taken 10 weeks, but South Australia finally has a new Premier. The first one, incidentally, in almost 10 years. Jay Weatherill took the reins of power this morning after Mike Rann resigned his post. He also reshuffled cabinet and some departments. In a moment, I'll speak with Jay Weatherill about the challenges ahead. But first, this background report on his path to power. It's not every day that a new leader comes along. Now Labor and the voters will find out whether Weatherill was worth the wait.
Congratulations, Premier.
He's promised a kinder, gentler government, one that avoids the ugly confrontations that came to characterise the final Rann years. At last year's Labor Party conference, even the faithful were furious. Such scenes are unlikely to be repeated at tomorrow's conference. But if kindness is measured in cash, he's going to have to find some in a budget Labor insists is tight.
I think it's very important for Jay Weatherill to have a few iconic moves early, and one would be maybe hospital parking. That's already been flagged. Give Keith Hospital $300,000. Get that off your agenda. You don't want that dogging you as sort of almost a symbol of meanness. He needs to do something to flag that I'm in town, there's a new boss in the seat, and I'm different.
But just how is this man different? There have been some indications in the manner Jay Weatherill has handled the past 10 weeks. In August, right-wing power brokers told Mike Rann that the powerful faction was backing Jay Weatherill as his replacement. It destroyed Mike Rann's own deal to go next March, struck despite his repeated public assurances that he'd stay until the next election.
I was told that it may now be better for me to vacate the premiership sooner than originally intended for March next year.
Then Mike Rann dug his heels in, insisting on a 10-week handover of mentoring his successor, but also parties, pronouncements and pictures without him.
You can argue that Jay's been very disciplined and has shown that he's quite a tough nut. You can also say he hasn't had any choice. That Mike Rann said he was going to mentor Jay Weatherill. Well, he's given him a lesson in bastardry.
That means the transition process could have been a disaster, and it's still possible it could be in terms of the public perception of the new Premier. But according to former political staffer turned politics teacher Jeff Anderson, every indication so far is that it's worked, and that, he says, is due to Jay Weatherill.
He wanted to ensure that he did not become in the guise of the Julia Gillard, where he was seen as illegitimate. Having taken something over. Jay has been quite content to move aside and let Mike go at his own pace and in his own way, which I think is one of the strengths of Jay Weatherill, that he hasn't got that brash political ego that a lot of politicians have, which gets them into trouble.
During the last 10 weeks, the Liberals have characterised Jay Weatherill's performance alternatively as the soft-spoken assassin or the weak ditherall who has sat by and watched.
Maybe it'll be like trying to nail jelly to the wall, trying to get a handle on him. He can't be both things. He was a fairly ineffectual assassin, I'd suggest, because first of all, he didn't go in and actually do the job, and I think that indicates weakness, but also the job wasn't done effectively. And so we've been in this netherworld for the last 10 weeks with neither a Premier who's actually there to do the job for the future, nor someone who's actually able to do it.
How much of his personal story he will weave into the political story remains to be seen, but there are all the things there that Labor says are its values. Jay Weatherill was born in 1964. He grew up in the western suburbs and went to Henley High School. This is his drama class in 1980. He entered Parliament in 2002. His father, George Weatherill, was also a Labor MP.
Oh, look, I think his family has been a very important influence on Jay, and one of the things about Jay is that he has never forgotten. He never forgets where he came from, and I think his father has been an important part of that.
Penny Wong and Jay Weatherill had a youthful romance during their university student days. Love has since taken them other places, but they remain close friends. When Labor's Tom Kenyon described the baby Penny Wong is expecting with her female partner as not really hers, Jay Weatherill took a deliberate low-key response.
I have my own views, he expresses his views, and I think that's where I want to leave it.
Whatever the issue, Senator Wong says that characteristic shouldn't be confused with weakness or conservatism.
He's someone who stands up for what he believes in. He doesn't look for fights, but he'll stand and fight if he has to. But he is, I think his preference generally is to try and get people to see that what he's saying is right. And that's how he's approached politics from the time I've met him. That's how Jay's approached politics.
People say he's likeable, and that's a big change.
Yes, I find him likeable, but that said, we will be deeply divided about the direction that this government has taken and will continue to take this state.
Nice enough, but is nice enough? The next election is in 2014.
Well, I think Jay Weatherill's great advantage as Premier will be that he's not Mike Rann. His great disadvantage as Premier will be that he's not Mike Rann.
What's the biggest mistake then that the party can make in terms of Jay Weatherill as Premier?
Goodness, not to support him, to assume that now they're going to win anyway.